So there we go, welcome in. This is game number 1 of CTL's week 1 between Team Kessel and Team Spinal Tap. Spawning down here in the lower left-hand corner of the screen in the purple color, he's playing for Team Kessel. It is RegnaroL. And spawning across from him in the upper right-hand corner of Cloud Kingdom in the teal color, playing for Team Spinal Tap, it is LawGambit. Now, RegnaroL is kind of a weird name. I looked at it for a little while, and then I decided I'd reverse it. Reversed its Loringer, which is the last name of a very popular StarCraft player, E.G. Huck. So we'll see if RegnaroL can embrace the power of Huck and take this PvP for his team Kessel. This is week 1, so neither team nor either player has any results to speak of yet. So I'm interested to see how this game goes and how this series progresses. This is the bronze level game from this week, and a PvP on Cloud Kingdom, which is actually what we saw in our first game. If you joined us for the Kingsmen vs. Guns and Marches, those casts are up on YouTube. It's youtube.com/merismatic.sc, and that's where the casts from this game will actually go afterward. LawGambit taking an early scout, he'll get up into his opponent's base, and spot nothing out of the ordinary. RegnaroL actually going to wall off, which is kind of a weird choice in PvP, as that can be taken... Gosh, I'm losing my words. It can be rather costly later in the game. If your opponent can get high ground vision, he can just set up stalkers Ken out here, outside of range of anything that would hit them from the high ground, and then would be able just to take down this gateway for free. And any little bit of damage, as we know, matters extraordinarily much in PvP. There's the Gas Geyser from RegnaroL, and if we look back in LawGambit's base, we see basically the same thing, everything lining up really evenly, so both players at least very solid in their openings. Again, this is a bronze game, so we can't expect the highest level of play, but entertainment and improvement are what we're really looking for with this league, and hopefully this will provide a little bit of both. We see RegnaroL getting with his scout, he steals some minerals, and he'll get back out of there. And the cybernetics cores planted down within 1 second of each other for both players. RegnaroL now with his complete wall off, and again, putting that cybernetics core right on the wall can really hinder you if your opponent is going for really something with an observer, even a Colossus. If you can get vision of the high ground and take down the cybernetics core without taking any damage, that can give you a really tremendous advantage, as your opponent's really only able to warp in zealots and tech units at that point. But now Probe's just kind of milling about the map, really. It looks like LawGambit's going to just swap out scout probes as he follows his opponent into the base. The zealot will actually get there, not on hold position, so the probe will get in, and he'll be able to spot and see if, well, never mind. He's actually going to get stopped immediately by the probe that he was following. So a little bit of a kill there by RegnaroL. He didn't get in to spot and see if his opponent had the second Gas Geyser. We see LawGambit is going to take his, so he most likely will not be foregating. It's not out of space. No, it's a little bit rare for RegnaroL. He does throw down that second Gas Geyser, and we do see the gateway coming down in the back of his base. Already a lot of gas banked up for LawGambit. We see not really prioritizing his gas units. He is getting a sentry out, but he'll have a lot of gas once he chooses his tech. And we may see a Stargate out of him. It's a little bit difficult to read, but I'm hopeful for a Stargate. I love Stargate openings in PvP. Now, RegnaroL getting up near that 100 gas number. I imagine we'll see just a more standard Robo, or we'll see a Pylon. Okay. It's not going to be that Robo at all from... I have my colors confused. I swear I'm only red-green colorblind, not teal-purple colorblind, but we'll get this straight. So, RegnaroL, the one spending his gas a little bit better, and we see the robotics facility coming down from him. LawGambit having a little bit more difficulty with his gas. He is going to throw down his own robotics facility. But he's still got 300 gas banked, and that's kind of surprising. We'll see if he chooses to use that. Again, he hasn't spent much gas on his units. He's got 1 stalker and 1 zealot. So he could warp in like 4 sentries if he wanted to. I don't think that'll be the case. We see LawGambit still milling around with his probes. He seems to want to expand, but has never quite had the resources for it. And of course, expanding very, very risky in Protoss versus Protoss. Immortal on the way for RegnaroL. We can see 2 proxy pylons up here by the third base for RegnaroL, indicating that he wants to put on some pressure in the near future. LawGambit has this bottom watchtower, so he should see any move out of his opponent's base, as that tends to be the most typical path he'll take. But the Stalker is going to go and clean that up, and just setting up in stages is RegnaroL. LawGambit still with his probe down here by his natural, and I think we will see a Nexus before long. But he will get that Observer out. That might be to check and see if he can in fact expand. I'm not entirely sure what LawGambit's strategy is here. He's only on 2 gateways in a robotics facility, which means that he just, in terms of sheer number of units, he's going to be behind to somebody who's got 3 gates in a robotics facility. And we can even see that already in the Army tab. 4 supply lead. It doesn't seem like much, but that's 2 Stalkers. That's an Immortal and a Probe. It's 2 Stalkers to 2 Zealots, and that can make all the difference in these battles where you're going to have exactly the same units as your opponent. I think that even counts. Oh, goodness. So the gateway coming down here from LawGambit, but that's actually going to block his Nexus, and that might be key later on. He needs to be a little bit more careful with his building placement in the future. But his first Immortal's out, and as I'm sure a lot of people know, but it's always good to reiterate in case we do have bronze players or some newer people watching. Immortal's very, very good against Stalkers. So if your opponent's going for a heavy Stalker count, which we see RegnaroL is, he's on 9 Stalkers right now, Immortals will just tear through that army. Again, he's got Immortals of his own, and those are fantastic units. If we look Army Supply, I just disabled sound, but Army Supply up by 6, RegnaroL moving in here. The Observer coming in with the flank, although that's not so important. Guardian Shields and Force Fields, this one not so useful, but some of them are. Cutting off the Zealots. So Zealots having a tough time engaging here. And really it'll come down to these ranged units. The Immortals of both players tearing through each other. It looks like RegnaroL doing a little bit better target firing as he does knock out one of his opponent's Immortals, and there goes the second one. There's only a couple of units left alive for both players, but it looks like RegnaroL has a pretty big advantage. This Observer will even go down, and LawGambit now out of units. He's throwing down this Nexus, of course not in the best position as we mentioned earlier. He's going to have to cancel that, and the Observer getting vision of the high ground, he'll start taking out pylons. He'll be able to take these buildings down at the bottom of the ramp. The warping of Stalkers immediately denied, and LawGambit is forced to G, and game number 1 goes to Team Kessel. Really nice looking victory there from RegnaroL. His Immortals just overpowered his opponent's army, and a little bit better target firing there, prioritizing his opponent's Immortals over his units such as Stalkers and Zealots, which is kind of what LawGambit was firing at. And that really made the difference in that fight. So that'll do it for game number 1. We'll come right back with game number 2 between Kessel and Spinal Tap. It'll be a Silver League game. Don't go anywhere. Kessel leads 1-0.